Whatever. I'm just going to live with it. Let's do this. Dinosaurs. That was not masculine.
I'm really proud of you for going on this trip.
You're gonna have so much fun. And remember, if something chases you, run.
We have learned more in the past decade from genetics than a century of digging up bones. A whole new frontier has opened up. We have our first genetically modified hybrid.
You just went and made a new dinosaur?
Probably not a good idea. Almost 40 feet high. Really think she climbed out?
Depends.
On what?
What kind of dinosaur they cooked up in that lab. Evacuate the island. She's a highly intelligent animal. She will kill anything that moves.
Oh, God.
The Next Reel's Film Board, everybody. Each month, a gang of thugs gather to take on one film currently in theaters and spoil that film rotten. This month, we're heading back to Isla Nublar for a visit to the world's favorite carnivorous theme park, Jurassic World. From director Colin Trevorrow, I'm Pete Wright, and making up the gang this month, we have the real reason velociraptors hunt in packs, Justin J.J. Yeager.
Pouring one out for my brontosaurus.
And from Los Angeles, or if he had it his way, Nuevo Isla Nublar, the indomitable Tommy Handsome.
Thank you, everybody. Happy to be here.
And the biggest disappointment in Jurassic World for me, that they didn't tap this guy as the real John Hammond, Andy Nelson.
Hello, everybody. Hello once again.
Before we get into all of that nonsense, you should learn more about us at thenextreel.com/filmboard. Subscribe for free on iTunes or follow us on Twitter and Facebook at The Next Reel. And be sure to join us over at Instagram.com/TheNextReel and play the Instagram hashtag Pony Prize hashtag Guess the Movie Challenge contests going on weekly. Okay, here we go. Gentlemen, I give you Jurassic World. As we are wont to do, let's go around the table for our brief review, and then we'll see if we can dig into this film. JJ, would you like to start?
Sure. It's interesting that you choose to start with me because I don't know that I'm the perfect candidate for this movie because I'm not a huge Jurassic Park fan. So it's kind of like bringing me to the table is kind of like bringing Tommy to a comic book movie, right?
Oh, that's like foreshadowing.
Not trying to be mean when I say that. But
no, shots fired.
So I'm going to treat this movie kind of in an isolated vacuum in what it is for itself and not with the whole, the realm, the mythology, the whole canon of Jurassic Park. So in general, I thought it was okay and fun, and I guess it'll be great for people who love Jurassic Park. For me, it just was kind of bland, and I feel like I've kind of seen it before. I've seen the first Jurassic Park, and that's the only one I've seen, and this was kind of like a cover song of Jurassic Park.
The claws come out. Andy?
I have seen all of them, and I just rewatched the entire trilogy last weekend. I saw this one twice this weekend, actually.
What?
My 4-year-old is in love with dinosaurs, and after watching it once, we're like, yeah, he can probably watch it. He watched the second and third ones with me, and I took him, and he was great, and he reassured me several times during the movie. He said, "Daddy, I'm not scared at all." So
that is adorable.
Totally not scared of the movie. I had a great time watching this movie. I know it had lots of problems, but at the same time, I don't know what it is about these dinosaur movies. I typically find it very easy to get over the problems that I do have with it, particularly Jurassic Park 3, which is very much a guilty pleasure of mine. I love that one almost as much as the first Jurassic Park. And this one, I think, came close to Jurassic Park 3 for me. I really did enjoy it quite a bit.
It came close to Jurassic Park 3 for me, too. Tommy?
Let's move on.
I think in the sequels, this is my number 2. as far as rankings go. It was a bit underwritten while also being a bit overstuffed, but I had a really, like Andy, I had a really great time. And I have to be completely honest, when Paddock 9 opened up and my giant old pal came out, I honestly had tears in my eyes. I was having so much fun. So I loved it.
I am so happy to hear you say that. And I'll tell you, this was an emotional roller coaster for me, right? I mean, I wanted to love it so much. I went in really primed for this movie. Kids alone in the park? Okay, we've been there before, but I'm going to let it slide because of the awesome hamster ball cars. Genetic splicing to create more dinosaurs? A little bit old hat, but I'm going to let it go there too. And there were I thought some really pretty chilling sequences for sure, and I thought the visual effects were really solid. But when Big Bad Dinosaur has a dinosaur conversation with the clone trooper velociraptors and executes Order 66, and the velociraptors turn on their Jedi handlers and chase them through the forest, I found myself laughing out loud, which lasted only until the actual climax in which Big Bad was bested, when I laughed out loudier. Overall, it was mostly fun as a visual spectacle, and Chris Pratt, who didn't let me down as a snarky action hero, I guess it was better than the Lost World. I think it's up there for me, but it's just I wanted to have that reboot moment that where I felt like this is right on par with the first one, and it just didn't hit that for me. So,
yay! Then I win.
Yeah, you sort of win.
I win the movie-going experience.
Can we start with story? And I want to start with story with Tommy because you were the one going into this movie who I think of all of us was probably the most excited, like giddy excited.
I'm still bouncing up and down as if I'm on a ball right now. Yeah.
So how did it hold up? Obviously you liked it, but if you really sit back and you look at the story of the thing. Was it constructed well to your liking? Did it live up to what you wanted?
No, I can honestly say no, not at all. It's, as I said before, it's overstuffed in that. I guess we're just getting into it now, right?
Get into it.
The whole Vincent D'Onofrio, Vincent D'Onofrio, that whole we want to weaponize the dinosaur thing, while a fun swipe from Cameron's Aliens belonged, I felt like, in another movie. There was no need for it. It led to some fun sequences, but I was thrilled enough just by the idea of when you make a theme park, people get bored easy, and so you have to do whatever you can to keep them in their seats, and then the creatures go nuts. That was enough for me. I didn't need that other stuff. Also, the love story was ridiculous. The kids were no Lex and Tim. All of those things honestly kind of failed for me. And I loved it. I don't really know how to explain it. And I'm sorry if this makes me sound like the biggest rube in the world, but like I was just checking off problems that I had throughout the storytelling process. And I was still then, while I was starting to get angry, then the next set piece involving dinosaurs would happen, and I was just thrilled.
I was right there with you, Tommy. I mean, that was exactly how I felt about it. With all the story problems, so many of them didn't line up. In fact, the element that Vincent D'Onofrio brought to the table really ended up feeling reminiscent of The Lost World, which for me was just the biggest letdown of the whole series. That one seemed like they were trying to take things the most serious, where it's got the two different parties dealing with the dinosaurs, and you've got the tree hugger hippie Vince Vaughn, and you've got the what's his name, Pete Postlethwaite and his hunters. You've got these two sides kind of vying for the dinosaurs. That one just ended up just feeling way too preachy to me, and I had such a hard time with it. And that was where this one seemed to be going with all of the D'Onofrio elements of it, and the whole weaponizing these dinosaurs. It was really unnecessary completely. But what they did bring to the table that worked really well for me is what Jurassic Park 3 brought to the table, which is nothing but more than just an escape from a Dino Island movie. I mean, there's nothing serious about JP3 at all. It's just dinosaur nonsense, and I just love watching it because I can just shut my brain off and watch people running from dinosaurs for an hour and a half. It's awesome. And that's what all of the best parts of this one were. It was just these guys dealing with these dinosaurs. You're running loose on this island full of 21,000 people, and it was just a blast.
See, that's where I get into, and I'm with you guys. The Vincent D'Onofrio story, it wasn't, I mean, he was terrible. And he hurt my feelings. He was so terrible. Like the part, and I love Vincent D'Onofrio. You mean
how it was written, how it was acted?
Yes,
both,
yeah,
everything.
both. Everything about it was terrible. I think it was acted poorly because it was a terrible, inane character. It was a terrible character, and he is phenomenally talented, and he was just given garbage, and what are you going to do with garbage? That's what came out. The whole storyline, that whole B story, was just so stupid that it was hard to take seriously at all. And of course, that leads to the infamous talking dinosaur sequence that I had a real problem with. I'm with you. I really like the running from dinosaur stuff. More running from dinosaurs, please. Like, let's not. They don't need individual motivation. The Velociraptors got to eat. Like, let's just let them eat.
Right.
Everything else was just like, why are we trying to anthropomorphize these creatures at all? We know they're the scariest things in the jungle. They are scarier than everything else because they're small and they hunt in packs. They've set that up. We know their story arc. We know how it begins and we know how it ends. And that they made this sort of clumsy InGen scientist now the bad guy.
This movie's unclear about who the bad guy is. I wonder if that's why Vincent D'Onofrio exists.
So they don't care. I mean, I want to be the most angry about the story from any of you guys, and that's because, again, I don't care about people running from dinosaurs. Then that's sort of the concession that I made at the front, right?
Justin.
No, but the point is that nothing in the story is new. And if you take the main complication of the story, that the park is getting stale and they need to create this genetically enhanced dinosaur to make everything more interesting, more wild, more wow for the people visiting the park. That is how they totally failed this movie, because they made nothing in the story that was genetically enhanced to make anything new, special, or wow, or scarier, or different. Yes, it has all of those great things from Jurassic Park 1 and Jurassic Park 2 and some of the fun from Jurassic Park 3. Those things are still there, but it's all just redundant, it feels to me. And to be honest, I've only seen the first one, but it feels all a little bit clipped from the greatness of the first one. And that's why it let me down in the fact that there wasn't a super dinosaur. It wasn't super enough for me here to think that the story was worth anything.
Okay, so here's my big question for all of you, and I think this gets back to the Steven Spielberg-ness of the first one, right? That this film, I think, was doomed to fail on that front, on the front of giving us any sense of intrigue or sort of any increasing the impact or level of interestingness, because they were, in a sense, I'm going to say forced to show us a lot of the flair of the park, which includes showing off all the dinosaurs way too early in the film. I mean, let's take the trailer out of it. Let's assume we never saw the trailer, which did the same thing. I mean, it showed us the big bad dinosaur in the stinking trailer, right? That was terrible. But let's just pretend that didn't exist. We are introduced to the biggest dinosaur in the park in the first 15 minutes.
The water dinosaur?
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem with that. It's a dinosaur movie. We want to see dinosaurs. Otherwise, it's going to be boring. I mean, you're going to end up with a whole first act with no dinosaurs, and it's just going to be kind of tedious.
Well, see, and that I think is the problem, because maybe that's where I felt most let down, is that I don't want to just see dinosaurs. I want to be thrilled. I want to be scared.
Yeah, isn't it? It's not my thing is why the first one was great is that it wasn't a dinosaur movie. It was a scary movie. It was a thrilling movie, and they made sure that we were nervous and scared, and they didn't do that in this movie. They just played with the dinosaurs.
The movie was about the fear of the people in the park, and in this one, it was about the dinosaurs, and that was it. It was showing us all the wonderful things that dinosaurs could do. I think that's my take on it.
And haven't we already seen that? I guess
I'm not
that's
sure if I agree with that.
Times. Well, okay, Tommy.
Only because I think that does it ever match? Will the film ever be able to match the first one by Steven Spielberg, the biggest master in the world? No. And I think the film is super self-aware of that, with the potential Jaws shark joke, when the big water monster comes up and eats the great white shark, with the linking to constant remembrances of the first one. There's so many just of the kind of the same sequences, but just upped. And this coming from a movie that starts with one of the main characters saying, no one cares in just dinosaurs anymore. I think this film is incredibly self-aware of being a sequel trying to live up to a masterpiece. And so we've got the gyroscope instead of the Jeep with Tim and Lexi. We've got the hospital van with the two kids who are no Tim and Lexi racing away while the Raptors and the Indominus whatever is coming up instead of the Jeep with Jeff Goldblum. It seems just sort of like a love letter to the first one in a way that I kind of thought was really interesting, while also biting on the idea of the merchandising, while Jake Johnson is wearing the original shirt from the movie, and they talk about merchandising on that, to, again, the idea of that the biggest dinosaur, the first thing that he eats, was the biggest thing that Steven Spielberg ever introduced to cinema history, which was Jaws.
No, I think that's cool. I hadn't thought about that. But then again, I haven't seen Jaws either, so there you go.
Whoa. Next you're going to tell me you haven't seen
this guy
Tootsie.
I'm reading my profile on thenextreel.com. I don't see scary movies.
Yeah, he's right. He sees them with me. We saw The Ring together, and he almost, I had to almost move. It was a difficult,
like out of state.
Difficult experience. Yeah, I loved it.
This gets back to something JJ said. And Andy, you remember when we did the trailer on the show, we did the trailer as one of our trailer reviews like a year and a half ago. And we said, well, here's what I'm really excited about this trailer about, because the premise of the show is that people are, they're oversensitized or desensitized to that thrill. And the whole premise was this still of a kid sitting on a bench staring at his phone with the giant eye of the Tyrannosaurus Rex in a cage behind him, right? The big eye. And that sequence alone was super suspenseful. And I think I see where they were trying to go to capture that. But for me, it went so over the top that they just, in terms of all these other little stories, the love story, the military story, that it just really failed. In terms of cast, I thought Pratt did a fantastic job. I enjoy watching him on screen. And I also liked, we just said his name,
Bryce.
Jake, what's his name?
Johnson?
I really dig that guy. From New Girl, he's incredibly funny, and I just loved watching him on screen too. I love him in a slightly bigger part in a very big movie. I hope he does many more. So there were elements that I really liked, but I just don't feel like it captured the intent that I went in expecting.
I think I've heard a lot of comments from people about this movie this weekend, and obviously it's doing well. I mean, this movie has broken just box office records left and right. It's the first film to hit $500 million in a weekend opening. I mean, it was a gargantuan weekend. It was number one in all of its foreign markets where it opened. It's almost beating, and it may, by the end of once they count all the dollars, it may actually beat the Avengers as far as the number one weekend opening ever. It's right now estimated at 204.6 million, and if it hits 207, that's where the Avengers was on its weekend record. So it's doing really well. People are eating this movie up. I haven't seen lines at a movie theater like this in quite a while. But I still hear a lot of people talking about how much they hated it on Facebook and social media, just the chitter chatter. People don't seem to like it. I wonder if people are just wanting much more of the original Jurassic Park feel, and not so much of the people getting chased by dinosaurs feel, which I love. I absolutely have a blast watching. So much fun. But I do love the original too. It's just maybe I wasn't going in expecting that. And from the trailer, I mean, geez, you've got Chris Pratt riding on a motorcycle in a pack of raptors. I didn't go into this movie expecting anything serious when I saw that in the trailer. I think that they're setting up the fact that they're not being very serious with what they're setting up in this film. They're not creating a much more serious Jurassic Park. This is a horror movie that happens in a dinosaur theme park. This happens to be a fun with dinosaurs sort of movie. I think it's just a totally different tone than the first one was.
Do any of you guys watch Shark Week when it comes?
Occasionally, from time to time.
Are you going to watch it next year?
Why is it all about the Mesosaurus?
No, but my point being is like Shark Week is this big like thing, right? Every year it's Shark Week. Shark Week is coming. Well, Jurassic World is kind of like, if you liked Shark Week last year, you should watch it this year. It's another dinosaur movie. It's going to be the same sort of thrills. There's really nothing new here. But go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I also, I mean, I do. That's what I mean about the chilling stuff. The chilling stuff. I do like the chilling stuff of the running through dinosaurs. There were some good chases, and I thought the sequence where where the gyrosphere, the boys in the gyrosphere, where the dinosaur was trying to eat the gyrosphere, and the perspective from the boys was looking down its throat as it was like got its jaws locked on that giant ball. I thought was really cool and pretty scary and in an intense sequence. With,
I thought that was as thrilling. While I didn't like the boys as much as I liked Tim and Lex, I thought that was as thrilling visually as the original Jeep sequence with the two kids were.
I think I would have agreed with you had I liked the boys more. I think that was a pretty big thing, and that gets to the nut of it. Like I can get around not taking it as seriously, but let's at least find a way to have us really like the characters. I didn't have a connection like I had with those two kids in the first one, and that I think led to just not caring about the intensity of the sequence, as much. So
sure.
The times when I got emotional with the film were with the actual animals. So if maybe that can be said for something that I like new. I didn't think any of the characters were written well, and I thought the dialogue was actually really poor. But all of the interactions with the animals when they were interacting with a dinosaur, I got emotional with that, whether it was with the brontosauruses or and they aren't brontosaurus anymore. That's one of the technicalities. But with the velociraptors, that relationship between man and animal actually was special to me in this movie, and I didn't feel that way before.
When he's sort of training them and being the raptor whisperer, I loved all that stuff.
So we say that it's underwritten. There are a lot of hands in this film in terms of writing hands. I mean, Rick Jaffa, Amanda Silver, Colin Trevorrow, Derek Connolly wrote this thing, all based obviously on Michael Crichton's original stuff. And Michael Crichton never finished this. I mean, we never got there.
He started writing this? I didn't
No. I'm just saying he never took us to the park. Like there were elements. Stuff. Yeah, it was just all new stuff. And so, apart from the fact that you loved the dino chase of it all, any comments specifically about the script, or are we going to just move right on through that?
Well, I mean, I think we've chatted about the script. I mean, it has plenty of problems. It's, I don't know. I guess I don't know. It's just so funny because I didn't go into this expecting anything great story-wise. I just went in expecting a lot of fun dinosaur stuff, and that's what I got. I didn't get a great script. I got a lot of problems. I don't think I had as many problems with the characters as you guys did. I found them easily digestible, and so I just like a dinosaur, I guess. I just ate them up. Wah wah wah. Yep.
Perfect.
Other than Chris Pratt, who I love in pretty much everything, I didn't really find myself liking anyone.
Yeah,
I actually really liked Bryce Dallas Howard in this. I thought she did a great job as kind of the uptight head of the place, and I thought her transition went well. I liked her transition to becoming a more powerful woman, and I love her. I thought she pulled it off really well as somebody who wears high heels through the whole film, actually getting brave enough to go open the T-Rex cage and lure the T-Rex out. I really liked that.
I agree with Andy, and I know that this is a hot button issue.
Well, that's
hot button issue. All right, guys, let's get into this part of the podcast. It's hot button issue. Do we have a theme for that? We don't.
Now we do. I'm going to just put music behind you saying that.
Okay, great.
And maybe a beat. I'm going to drop a beat in
Fantastic.
there.
Hey, guys, it's time for hot button issue. Sexism. Does it exist in dinosaurs? Andy, go. Okay, no, I didn't. Granted, I was sort of set up for it because of all the news that came out before the movie came out, because starting with Joss Whedon tweeting about the trailer, I was okay with the character. I feel it was lazy, a little bit lazy of just sort of this. Her arc was a little bit lazy, but it's not like she was Kate Capshaw in Temple of Doom, another Spielberg film. I'm not a woman tripping over my own high heels just because the screenwriter put me in these high heels. That actually Bryce Dallas Howard ended up being very important and very functional and very sort of up to game. And so I was okay with it.
Yeah, I was really surprised after watching the movie about the sexism remarks because I was pretty. I thought they dealt with her character nicely and they gave her moments to actually stand on her own, and I thought she did it well.
So can someone catch me up on the sexism discussion, because I've seen things sort of virally about it, but I don't really know the points that people are making. What's sexist in this movie?
Joss Whedon was saying it's from the 80s. It's sort of that the romancing the stone. Again, as I said, Temple of Doom kind of idea is that the woman is uptight and sort of not shrill, but uptight and doesn't know how to exist except for anything but just career, while the man is the life force and the Han Solo / Indiana Jones that lets her finally open up and achieve her job in the world, which is to be maternal and loving.
So I guess my test for that is, if you reverse the genders in those two roles, would it be different? Right. So if the Bryce Dallas Howard character was a man and the Chris Pratt character was a woman, are we talking about the characters or are we talking about their genders?
We're talking about both, and it's not that great of an argument. You're right, JJ, that's where it sort of falls down. Some of the reason that this is coming is because Laura Dern in the first Jurassic Park was so strong.
Yeah.
And it was actually, as Steve Sarmento in our texts brought up, that it's actually Sam Neill that, if you, for lack of a better word, gets domesticated in that. And while sort of going back to this woman who is in a pencil skirt, isn't that a thing? And high heels and stuff, and is just constantly needing help and running away, that felt like a throwback that people were uncomfortable with. I believe that that's a good way to sum it up.
I think that it works perfectly, though, JJ. I mean, if you do reverse the characters' genders and you make her an animal expert who is an animal whisperer with these raptors, and he is an uptight businessman running this thing, I think it would work reversing the roles.
Yeah, no, I think so too, and I guess that's why my issue with it is with the characters, not with the genders, because I think you could just reverse it and you make Chris Pratt Dr. Quinn Medicine Woman, and it would work out okay.
I didn't notice anything apart from being not all that thrilled with Bryce Dallas Howard's ultimate transformation. Like it just. The character was written sort of clumsily for me. Like I just,
I didn't know who she was. That was always kind of the hard thing for me.
Yeah.
I never really understood whether she was the stereotype that the sexism argument is trying to put forth. I never caught that from her. I never caught that she was so uptight and all those things. She just wasn't fully fleshed out in either the beginning or the end for me.
Right, which I think is ultimately the problem of writing the character, because she's in a great position, right? I mean, here is a woman who has worked hard enough and is strong enough to lead a massive organization, right? A massive organization of entertainment property, and she's put in these kind of weird positions where she's just played as really sort of insipid with the owner of the park, who is this,
again, a freewheeling, free spirit male.
Exactly. Freewheeling. And so it's not so much that she's terrible, it's that she's terrible when she's playing against all these other these male characters that aren't that great.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So I kind of see where certainly where Joss Whedon is coming from, and I wish that she'd had better characters to bounce off of, but that's not a problem of sexism in the movie. It's a problem of a crappy script.
I guess that's my point about switching the genders, is I feel like the roles are just thin. And so it looks like sexism, or it looks like something that's just like a cop-out, but really it's just because the script is weak.
Right.
It's lazy.
Gets me all fired up. Fired up.
But back to Andy's point, the script wasn't the important part about the movie. Right? I mean,
here.
That's right. I mean, maybe we shouldn't get caught up in that, because maybe we should look at what the movie was trying to accomplish, really, and that's to give that fun ride to the people who wanted it.
All right, so let's talk just briefly about the visuals, and in that about the camera, because it was another one of those films that has in its genetic predecessor. Much less CGI, right? The big CGI train really kind of started with Jurassic Park, as they figured out how to do the T-Rex and as a CG character largely, but there was certainly a lot more of the kind of animatronic and in that film, and a lot of people were saying, can this film have any visual heart? Or will the effects live up to the film enough to give it visual heart if all of these dinosaurs are for the most part CG characters?
Although I believe that didn't Colin Trevorrow come out and actually say that they had quite a few animatronic dinosaurs in the film?
They did. He did say that, and what is quite a few? There are a ton of dinosaurs in this film, so we're looking at straight percentage. I don't know. I don't know what that is, but the ones that I really noticed, certainly the close-ups, the dying saying one. Quote Brontosaurus, even though I know it's not, whatever it is.
I'm still going to call it a Brontosaurus.
When Chris Pratt is acting with the Velociraptors, he's acting with green things.
Yeah, and I think there's times when the I-Rex's head is a big animatronic head when it kind of comes in next to the Jeep and is sniffing things.
And it was pretty good. It was pretty good.
That's about how much animatronics they had in the original too.
Yeah, that's true. They just had a lot more individual sequences that were CG in this film.
Well, I'd say it's pretty comparable.
Not even close. Are you kidding?
There's more dinosaurs, so I think there's more. But I mean, I think if you're looking at the quantity of just screen time, I think it's pretty comparable.
Straight number of visual effects shots where they were creating CG characters. You're telling me you think it's comparable to the first Jurassic Park?
Potentially.
I'm saying the animatronic usage is comparable.
Oh, okay.
Right.
All right. I'll buy that.
Potentially even more important than that fun debate is the idea that I think that the director of this one, very Spielbergian, showed a lot of restraint for, like Pete, like what you're saying, the amount of CG that he could have just used, and he does wildly. I was so impressed by his choice and the DP's choice to almost always, except for landscape reveals and the understandable and I thought amazing and kind of terrifying bird dinosaur attack, everything is filmed from the ground. And so everything is filmed from the human perspective, which makes it constantly so scary to be in the park for me, versus a lot of Peter Jackson, my earlier argument, is just because you can shoot from anywhere doesn't mean you should shoot from anywhere. He hid a lot of stuff behind leaves. He always filmed things from the ground perspective when you can't really see stuff. I think that makes such a difference. I was really impressed. That for me in today's CGI thing is restraint, and I like it.
Well, even with the Indominus Rex, I mean, there were plenty of times where it was so big that you didn't get the entire creature in the shot.
Right, it was like Cloverfield. You couldn't really figure out what it looked like for a while.
Right.
The perspective always, Tom, it sounds like you're talking a little bit about perspective too, in terms of the cheating of the camera and stuff. And I think that was always perfect in this movie. I never questioned where I was looking from, which is really great. To go back to the debate that you wanted to go away from, which is the animatronic versus CG discussion, I found the animatronics, maybe it's because I'm older than when the first one came out, but I found myself questioning the animatronics in this one. When the Velociraptors were in the face cages that they had, you saw their noses kind of like flaring, and it looked like they were actually, instead of actually having, this is going to sound ridiculous, but holes for nostrils, that they had these kind of membranes, right? And I found myself thinking like, well, wow, I wish I knew the science of dinosaurs to know if that's like real or if that's just a mistake. So little stuff like that. I found myself distracted by the animatronics here. So
super distracting,
that they were spending time on the animatronics, and I found myself questioning whether it was real or not, and I don't like that. So,
wow, that's interesting. That didn't trip me up. Yeah. For me, I was just looking at how well does it look like the characters are able to act or run from these characters with a sense of fear. And I thought generally they did a really good job. Apart from the stuff that I thought was kind of silly. I thought the chase sequences, the run sequences, I even thought the Velociraptor whisper sequence was, which I think is really a highlight of that particular argument, is can he sit there with 3 completely CG velociraptors and really be scared of them or really dominate them sort of willfully. And I thought that was a great sequence. I think it demonstrated his character really well, and it wouldn't have worked as well if he couldn't pull off, demonstrating his dominance over realistic-looking characters.
I agree with that, and I believed him in everything when he's being a voice of reason, when he's commanding the dinosaurs, all that stuff. I didn't personally believe Chris Pratt that much in the love sequences. And I think that the movie robbed Chris Pratt, this is me personally, a little bit of his goofiness. He didn't really seem to question himself that much, and that's sort of what makes him so relatable to me. Even Indiana Jones sort of pokes fun at himself.
Right, and that was a lot of the gift of Guardians of the Galaxy, his character there, as we got to really see that in motion. The cinematography was handled by John Schwartzman, and I can't remember, have we talked about him before? I mean, he's behind the camera of a lot of very big films and some really big disappointments. He did Dracula Untold immediately before Jurassic World, but also Saving Mr. Banks before that, which I thought was terrific. He's
what a
amazing,
weird whiplash of
amazing Spider-Man to Green Hornet to Night at the Museum, Battle of the Smithsonian to The Bucket List to National Treasure, Book of Secrets. Like he's in Meet the Fockers. Meet the Fockers, man. I mean, but his biggest films, I think, were, up until Jurassic World, probably Pearl Harbor, Seabiscuit, Armageddon. He's been behind. I think Whiplash is the way to frame it.
Yeah,
it'd be tough to nail this guy down. But in general, I think you've already made the comment for me, at least, which is that he smartly shot from the perspective of people, and that's something that Spielberg really got right in the first movie. That in that area, I think the film really carried the mantle very well for the. And I
also want to repeat what Justin said, which was exactly right: is that everything, especially when you've got not like 3 raptors and motorcycles and cars. Or later you have a T-Rex fighting an Indomitable whatever, that you always knew where you were and you knew what was happening. That's so thrilling to see.
And absolutely a turnabout from, the third Jurassic Park, where I think that just sort of came off the rails.
Andy? Yeah. Shots fired again. Andy, thoughts?
I admit it's a guilty pleasure for me. I know it's a very problematic film with some characters that people don't like, but it's got a lot of fun stuff in it, and I just love the dinos in that one. I thought they had a great one with the pteranodons in that film, and you got a lot more of that in this film. But I actually really like the pteranodons in that film, maybe slightly more, only because you get some much better close-ups of them in that film.
And it's fun that cell phones are used in both 3 and now Jurassic World. Cell phones were used how to target the big bad in Jurassic 3, correct?
It wasn't a cell phone. It was their global. Yeah, it was their global phone that he had eaten. Right.
Oh, but it still sort of had a ringtone or something.
Right, which is great.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so you would hear the boom boom in Jurassic 3 was da 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 da, which I kind of liked. And in the gyroscope or the gyro ball, whatever, that the dinosaur knowing them because.
Of the vibration, right?
The mean teenager boy's phone is on vibration. Ugh, he was so mean until he wasn't. Ugh.
He was so broody.
He was so broody because, girls and hormones.
Can we hit on the stereotypes of the characters anymore?
Do it.
Wow. Like, make sure you know what this person is all about. We're gonna hit on this little aspect about 25 times in every single one of them. I mean, even with D'Onofrio, everything is. I mean, he had cutaways where all he was saying is, "Oh, this is where the fighting starts. I'm getting my popcorn." And it's just like
lock and load.
Like we got it. Let's move on. Let's get to the story. Oh, well, there wasn't one, but yeah.
No, JJ, I completely agree. It was perfect. Pete.
So to go back to the camera for a second and perspective and all that stuff, my favorite camera sequence was the Return of the Jedi speeder scene following the GoPros following the Raptors on the chase. I actually had a lot of fun a lot of fun with that. And people probably aren't going to like that, but I just really like the way that they did it. And then the fact that they gave you the perspective of the fact that they actually had equipped them with something like a GoPro, and that everybody was watching back in control room about it. I don't know. I thought that was done well technically, and it was fun to look at in the theater.
And it was neat that was a follow-up from the James Cameron-ish thing of the original Soldiers, having their helmet cams like in Aliens, and then of course, subsequent flatlines as we watch all of them slowly die because of monsters.
The only thing that I wish they had played up more, which I thought they had potential to, is the fact that you get to that point where you've got all of the soldiers and the raptors in the field with these cameras on, and then the raptors turn sides and are now hunting the people. I would love to have seen that play out more in the control room, as you see from the Raptors' perspective as they're hunting the people.
Oh,
and
brilliant!
The people's perspective as they're running. I think that would have made it so much more interesting to play that scene that way. But it's a small thing.
Oh, but that's such a great idea for the horror in the control room of like, oh no, we're not in control of it anymore. Love it, Andy. You're signed up. I'm calling Hollywood. Hold on, Hollywood. There's no answer yet, but
But you're right there. You're like in the neighborhood. You just wait.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. Oh, that's such a great idea, Andy. That's exciting. I'm going to write my own short film that I'll never make.
So speaking of crew, I do want to say, considering that that John Williams really created some iconic themes for Jurassic Park, I have found that it's been underwhelming in every one of the sequels, the score. And Michael Giacchino, who I really love, did his tribute to John Williams themes and everything. But otherwise, I mean, the music, it worked in the sense that it was thrilling in the right places and all that. But there's nothing memorable about any of it.
I am super glad you brought this up. I had a huge problem with the music, not just that it was, it was kind of a pasty homage to the original, not a very good one. And I'm with you. I love Michael Giacchino. I think his stuff is generally really, really good. This was terrible, and it was used horribly. The first half hour, everything was a major dramatic reveal. And by the time you get to something that's actually damn near interesting, you're kind of exhausted from the music. I found it was just really horribly used, particularly in the beginning of the film.
And if you want to distill it down a little bit too, how he did go to the themes, which is great, use the themes, but instead what I thought was his creative leap to change the themes was to cut them off. He made them staccato in places, and that's like the opposite of what you want to do to make something special and new and big. And so, yes, he's paying homage to the themes, but then he's leaving you thinking, wait, it's supposed to be special. It's supposed to bring me someplace new, and instead it left me wanting more, which wasn't good for this movie. The thing that was original, the sort of low strings stuff when the drama came in, was kind of a toss. It was almost too symphonic in nature, where I think that one of the neat things I think about the way that score music is going today is it's going away from using just the orchestra, and it's using lots of other interesting, strange noises to bring that tenseness there. And I think that this was kind of, it was unoriginal in that, and I wanted something special and new. It actually reminded me of the Berlioz Requiem, which sounds really strange. It's just an old. Oh
yeah, the Berlioz
thing.
Requiem. Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, but I wish I did.
I think it's a toss off to an old full orchestra thing. I don't think it's new, and that's just how I felt with all this music. Is that instead of being inspiring, it was just kind of redundant.
And I agree with what you guys are saying. For me, what just worked, and I know it's not a competition, but this film was such a conversation with the first film, ignoring the second film and the third film. I thought it is such a conversation with the first film that I kind of understand why he wouldn't want to. He'd want to be a little bit more traditional. It worked for me. The film has so many problems, but it just worked for me. But that's interesting that you guys would want that kind of an update, that kind of stuff.
Going along with that, maybe this is to Tommy and to Andy. Since you guys had so much fun with it, were there certain set pieces that you guys really loved?
All the dino scenes. I mean, I really did love all the raptor whispering at the beginning, and then I loved the scene where they go out with the raptors. I loved the scene with the kids in the hamster ball. I thought that was a lot of fun. and even the first escape from the Indominus Rex was, I mean, that was fun. It didn't blow my mind or anything, but it was still fun, just kind of him dousing himself in gasoline and all that. And I mean, I really loved the big dino scene, the fight at the end, bringing the T-Rex out to get more teeth in there. I thought was fantastic. And then of course the big surprise, I don't know if it's a big surprise, but having the big giant alligator thing pop out to grab him at the end, I thought was fun. I mean, I had fun. Pretty much put a dinosaur on screen and I was having fun.
I was having fun, and in the same way that Andy's saying, though, it's not just dinosaurs. I thought it was handled and filmed really well. That these are larger than life, huge monsters. And I knew where I was, again, to crib from JJ, and I felt like I was there-ish because of the human perspective. And then also we said the gyroscope. I liked the hospital van getaway with the two kids in the back. I thought it was just so many of those things were thrilling. And I was just sort of like, at times I was laughing out loud like an idiot because it was fun. I wish it was scarier, but I was just having so much fun.
But they did a good job balancing some of the thrills of the scenes along with some lighter comedy moments, just to kind of remind you that it's not being too serious here. I loved it when it would cut back to the control room and they, he'd have a fun little one-liner or something like that. I enjoyed all of that. It would just, for me, it ended up balancing the thrill ride that I was wanting.
My favorite single character sequence is when Jake Johnson goes in for a kiss to his coworker. Someone has to stay behind. She's, I have a boyfriend.
No, I have a boyfriend. Oh, you never mentioned.
Well, it's at work. It's work. I don't talk about that stuff at work. That was just great. Certainly,
Jake Johnson is my hero.
He is my hero. I think he is just terrific. And that awful mustache.
Yeah.
Just a great character bit. Please don't wear that shirt to work anymore as he's wearing the original Jurassic Park. That was terrific. It was just terrific.
There was one part that I wanted to also ask just the group, but also those, you all have children. Never mind. I want to ask the group, you guys that have children. There was one part because my theater was filled with kids, little kids.
Yep.
And it's just sort of like, really? You never saw the first or second one? I guess they all handled it okay. But these films are not... I don't know. I feel like there may be a little bit. It depends on what kind of age it is. But the one part, the pterodactyl, I don't know if that's what they're called, the flying dinosaurs, that was horrifying, but I loved it. But the real one was the death of the assistant.
Yeah.
The assistant of Uptight Magoo. That was almost too much for me, and I'm not a child. Like, it wasn't gory, but she was constantly being thrown up in the air, mouthed by a bunch of teethless things, goes underwater, almost drowns, up again, drown again, up again, drown again, then finally eaten by a thing. That death was worthy of that horrible, cowardly lawyer in the first one, except they forgot to make this person a villain. Right. She was just a person, and then she got the most horrific, long death ever. Did that bother you guys at all? That was a little bit much. Maybe I was just being a little bit too aware of the kids around me, but I was like, that was really pretty hardcore while being gore-free.
Speaking from my 4-year-old's perspective, because I totally agree. We walked out of the theater going, God, there's a lot of really, really young kids in here. Yeah. And then I was just like, well, of course, I just watched Jurassic Parks 2 and 3 with my son. And I mean, I covered his eyes through a lot of it. But I was just like, do you think you'd want to see another dinosaur movie? And he's just like, yeah, like he's totally into it. And we reminded him, things are fake. None of this is real. And that particular scene, that's when my wife and I looked at him and he looked at me and he's like, no, I'm not scared at all. And he just like, it rolled right off of him. Like it was just a plaything. And I don't know if that's just, I'm exposing him to violence and now, he's going to.
He's fully desensitized.
You're raising a sociopath. Other than that, it's great. No, that makes sense. I mean, kids are different and they learn things from Disney about death and stuff. And then again, the important thing that you did was like remind him this is not real. These are special effects. Maybe I was just holding on too tight. So that's cool. I'm glad that that's okay.
I did not take my kids to this, but only because of timing. And they were traveling for vacation and we couldn't get them and me at the theater at the same time. But I would, after seeing it, I don't think there would be any problem with it. But my kids are older, so.
Yeah,
Cool.
my boys are in love with dinosaurs, but
Oh.
they're 5 and 3, so I think we've talked about like 12. I think would probably be for the first one, and probably not sooner. I like the assistant's name is Katie McGrath. That's the actress, and she was from Merlin. She played Morgana in Merlin.
She totally did.
I kind of dig her. Oh. So yeah, I was really sad that she got a terrible death too.
That's a great show.
Yeah,
I love that show.
BBC.
I feel like that character is still dying, maybe.
Yeah,
probably
like she
underwater.
still hasn't been put out of her misery.
Well, she's being digested slowly.
I assume there was some longer cut where she was more of a villain. There's some weird like ADR of her talking about a bachelor party, but her biggest thing is just she's not taking enough attention to the kid. Ugh. I didn't understand.
That was her big crime. Was maybe not enough to justify that death.
Yeah.
Like that would have been a good D'Onofrio death.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
Instead of a weird off-screen eating in the computer room.
Right.
Yeah.
Boy, that's a really good point. That's how because he died really unsatisfyingly.
Well, so there's something that I brought up in a podcast a ways back. I think it was when we did Insurgent, and I was thinking about how odd it was that there's so many films out here that are about control right now and controlling things for the use of weapons, right? So Insurgent did that, and the second How to Train Your Dragon did that too. And that's something that's happening here where instead of the simple act of nature turning against humanity, which is like the first Jurassic Park, there's this whole thing now that's a sort of super meme in films about controlling others that are relatively innocent to be weaponized or to be the bad people. And I don't know why everything is kind of with that theme right now, but that was his death, right? So that's what his death reminded me of the fact that he was trying to control them. He wasn't able to control them. And there's this weird kind of control thing going on in films today. And I don't know, I just want to raise awareness to it because I'm wondering what in society is drawing us to that thing, that threat that we feel that we need to express it in art.
Usually, being such a horror nerd, usually it's a huge sense of anxiety of when we've done these kind of things. And then when in Aliens, really in this movie, Vincent D'Onofrio was Weyland Yutani. The idea of needing to try to capture things we don't quite understand and use them for our own good, and then it gets away from us, is a boom in science.
Yeah.
A lot of times it has to do with like when the gas crisis was happening, when the nuclear age was happening, that's when we had all of the crazy ants, all that kind of stuff. I don't know if I'm quite answering your question. That's more just about anxiety.
I think you're on track. I think that what we're seeing too, though, is that anxiety or that loss of control that we feel as a reflection of, or a cultural reflection of our loss of control in society, loss of control in privacy, loss of control in security, loss of control in our government. Yeah. Like there, we are having loss of control, and so it is reflected in art as a form of regaining control or shifting power or taking control in a way that satisfies us really viscerally. And we don't ever really look at that. But for me, I absolutely see that connection that we are seeing that sort of about face in
and I don't think it's
these films.
I don't think it's a catharsis in the way that we're seeing films where the control is used and great and we're in charge.
Yeah, no,
it's an echo of what we're feeling of the loss of control of our government and privacy, everything that Pete just said, but in a way that isn't involved with governments and NSA and stuff. Yeah. We're seeing this in sci-fi fantasy things of this is what we're going through, but the winners always win. The good people always win. So unlike the NSA and the government, they use our stuff, spins out of control, but we end up okay. So it is kind of a catharsis.
What I'm talking about is the perspective of the protagonist, right? So in the first one, we have these protagonists that have created this environment that all of a sudden turns against them, and they're scared because they're scared of the dinosaurs coming in on them. In this one, we've humanized the velociraptors. We've even put a human with them to say, hey, we've found a way to make these guys on our team. This is the good guys. And so all of a sudden, the velociraptors in many cases in this film are the protagonists. And the new fear that I feel is that they're kind of harking on, that writers are harking on, is the fear that we ourselves are going to be controlled into doing something wrong.
I can see that. I can see that. I was, as you were talking, I was thinking about the parallel to the first one, and I thought the sort of superficial reflection is that, in both of these films, we are trying to control things which are uncontrollable, and that is a very clear parallel. Just because they got further with the Jurassic World than they did in Jurassic Park, they had to leave Jurassic Park because it was uncontrollable. It was something that they lost. They lost the battle. And here we're saying you can try to have that battle again, but you're going to lose. But what I hear you saying is this, like this sort of sub story or this sub reflection of, look what happens when we're trying to subvert that control and actually use it in a much more sort of proactive way. Not just put it on display, not just own it, not just dominate it, but now to use it in a way that does things that maybe aren't, particularly useful, good.
Yeah, I'll have to keep marinating on it because I think there's more to it. I think there's more movies out there that are going to do this, and I want to see how there's a through line.
I think so
It's
too.
a weird new way to be scared.
It's a funny thing too, because I think you look at it in the sort of the YA, literature and the YA films that are being adapted. That's another really consistent theme, and it's a sort of millennial anthem, I think, that is new for guys like us.
People are watching over us and deciding exactly where we need to fit.
Yes. Yeah. And this is that sort of cultural element.
Absolute
saying,
control.
I will not do that. I will not subvert to thee.
The Velociraptors are millennials. I get it. Oh, no. The millennials are Velociraptors. Oh, my goodness.
That's better, yeah. This is credit to Andy for this question. I think it's probably the most important question of the night. What is your favorite dinosaur and why?
My favorite, since I was a kid, has always been the Ankylosaurus. And I was thrilled that they turned up in Jurassic Park 3, although they were hardly in it. And so I was very excited that they had a whole scene in this film, and they were fantastic. It was so fun. It was really actually sad to watch them, but it was great to see them acting like, as they would, with the thorny shell on the outside and the big club tail as it was trying to fight off the Indominus Rex.
Right.
Yeah, he gets in the fight, and then the Indominus Rex, of course, finally flips it over to expose its soft underbelly, just like a turtle or something, and then it cracks its head. And I had a great time watching them. I was thrilled that they actually had a full scene in this.
Love it.
All right, Tommy.
Baby Triceratops. Oh my gosh. That little blonde kid riding around a Triceratops. I was like, I will be you in the future. Because I don't know how time works. I think that I'll get younger as I move forward. But yeah, Baby Triceratops for the win.
JJ.
So as I was growing up, I always loved pterodactyls, and that's another one that's actually fallen by the wayside. We've lost brontosauruses and pterodactyls. They now say that those no longer exist, so I don't get to say that anymore. So with my kids being in love with dinosaurs, and I see so much dinosaur shows and literature, Dinosaur Train, all that stuff, I'm always sort of questioning the ideas of colors. Like, how do we think we know what color dinosaurs were? Regardless, my favorite one is the Stegosaurus, and the reason why is because they ask questions about the Stegosaurus plates, and we have all these ideas about what the plates of the Stegosaurus were for. And the new theory about the plates on the back of the Stegosaurus is that it was used to cool them. So that with the plates and I don't know, I'm just saying I have no idea, but I love that there's this dinosaur that we know had these plates that were up above, and we don't know if it was for whatever reason, but the fact that they catch the wind and could cool the dinosaurs, and then they had spiky tails to defend it if they needed it. I don't know. I just feel like it's one of those dinosaurs that probably in the next couple of years we're going to decide is actually just an amalgam of 8 more dinosaurs that they're going to split apart. So I'm going to hold on to my Stegosaurus until it gets taken away.
When I go to dinosaur museums, if there's a dinosaur heaven, I think they're looking down on us and being like, that's not what we look like, you idiots. All of that is wrong.
For me, it was going to be the baby, the petting zoo dinosaurs. Pick one, like the Apatosaurus, I think is the baby Apatosaurus, where the little kid runs up and gives him a hug. I thought that was really, really sweet. But I am gonna have to pick the. As much as I was not satisfied with the climax of the film, I am picking the Mosasaurus. I have always been a nut for the swimming dinosaurs. Yeah, anything underwater, and that exudes an enormous amount of fear for me because I'm not crazy about wide open seas, and that there were things that were that big floating around in the oceans. That's just bananas that even existed, and so I found myself really exhilarated by every time that thing showed itself.
Good choice.
Great.
No, I agree with you from this film. I think I misunderstood the question. The Mosasaurus is bomb.
Yeah. So
I was wondering, what is the flying dinosaur that looks like it has a Tyrannosaurus Rex head? What was that guy?
They have them in Dinosaur Train. I'm going to look it up for you.
I thought it was a Pteranodon. Like, it's just they've discovered that they've redesigned the Pteranodon a little bit.
No, because the Pteranodons were still flying around, and they had the big pointy beaks. But then there was the one that had, like, the little T-Rex head, and I was.
It wasn't a baby Pteranodon with its short nose.
I don't think their head changes that much. That's quite a drastic. That's like going into a cocoon and coming.
Oh, I thought I saw one that actually had Tom's head on it. It was just flying around Tommy Handsome Pteranodon. And it changes over time, and it starts to look different. But that's what they're born with.
So I'm actually going to Wikipedia and looking up the names of the main characters of the PBS show Dinosaur Train, which is
this is a new low.
Pteranodon family. And they have, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to find it through the whole thing, but they have a buddy who's one of those dinosaurs, which I'm going to find at some point. And he has this strange head, but he flies. He's from a completely different period in dinosaur history. That's why it's different. But it is one that we think did exist at this point.
Man.
One fun thing about dinosaurs that just as an if you like Pete for this is Jeff Jones, a friend of mine. He wrote a dinosaur book called The Dinosaur 4 that actually is a time travel book where some people unexpectedly get sucked back through time into the dinosaur period, and it is a very fun adventure book that's well worth reading. And they have a much different take on the dinosaurs that I really enjoy, where all these dinosaurs actually have some feathers sticking out in different parts and stuff like that. So they actually seem much more like that blend of something that would actually become the birds, which I really enjoyed quite a bit. It's definitely a more violent sort of take. It's definitely more of an adult story than any of these PG-13 sort of films, but it's definitely one worth checking out if you want more dinosaurs.
We'll put it in the link to the show notes. Available for free to Kindle Unlimited subscribers, $3.99 to buy.
And I found it. It's a Patinosaurus. Seriously. It doesn't look exactly like it does in Jurassic World, but I would say look it up. And the character's name on the show, I'm not kidding, is Petey Patinosaurus.
Oh. It's like my spirit animal. And so we've already said, Andy, it's doing really spanking well at the box office. Since we started recording this, do we have any new data?
No, that was I pulled the latest data. It hasn't changed quite that quickly.
Quick, JJ, check Dinosaur Show. I already forgot. I messed up the joke because I forgot what it's. Dino Train. That's where we get all of our hard-hitting news. That's the new Wikipedia. Dino Train.
If that is all of the existing dino business, I think it's time that we rank it.
Now it's time to know how the rankings go. Our opinions will impart. Will our thoughts be wrong, or like B.D. Wong, will we engineer a rank so fair that all will cheer our flick chart by engine? That's how that one ends.
Oh my goodness, you clearly loved this movie.
Awesome.
Head over to flickchart.com/TNR Film Board to check in on all the films that we've talked about on this very show. Sign up with Flickchart and start your own list, and let's see if we're Flickchart besties. Here we go.
All right, Jurassic World or Divergent?
Jurassic World.
Jurassic World.
On this one.
Jurassic World.
There you go. Jurassic World or Looper?
Looper.
I'm going to do Jurassic World.
I'm going to say Looper, Pete.
Dang, really?
Dag, yo.
I think I'm also gonna say Looper.
All right, Looper it is.
I may regret that, but I think I'm gonna say Looper.
Hey, Looper's a great movie.
I'm gonna say The Hobbit.
Forehead.
Jurassic World or The Hobbit. There you go, Tom. The Desolation of Smaug.
Jupiter Ascending.
Selma.
Smaug.
No, I'm gonna say, of course, Jurassic World.
I'm gonna say Smaug.
I would also say Jurassic World.
I'm gonna say Jurassic World. Jurassic World or Avengers: Age of Ultron.
Jurassic World.
Jurassic World.
Ultron.
Oh.
Ultron.
Oh, what happens now? Now it's a fight to the death.
I think that it should be JJ and Tom.
Oh,
What?
okay.
Rochambeauing?
Yeah,
Sure.
Yep.
I can't Rochambeau and hold my mic up to my hand, so we'll give it a try.
Well, you
So
don't
is it-
actually have to move your hands, Tom. It's an audio show. Nobody can see you.
Oh no!
You could use your head, your mental hands to do this.
I can't believe that I didn't figure that out. All right, fair enough. Cool. I'm going to pretend that never happened. I'm an adult. I graduated. Okay, so Justin, so it's 3, 2, 1, say.
Okay, got it.
Ready, go. 3, 2, 1, rock.
Rock.
Well, all right.
Do it
There's a
again.
delay. Let's do it again. 3, 2, 1, rock. Okay. We both read that same blog. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, rock.
Scissors.
I win.
Yes. Wins.
I think JJ just threw
I
it
think
on
he
purpose.
threw it because you exhausted him. That's what happened. You
Yeah.
just exhausted the
That's
man.
my
Good
plan.
job. Good
It's
job,
like the-
Tommy.
It's like the
I
throw
wasn't
in
going to say
Manila.
rock again.
I just keep dancing around till I tire him out. Thunder in the jungle.
All right, Jurassic World takes that one. Jurassic World or Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier.
I'll do
Jurassic World. Uh-oh.
Ugh.
That's another one. Sorry, guys.
This is gross.
All right. So it's me and Andy.
Yes.
All right.
Here we go.
One,
1, 2, 3.
Paper.
Rock. Jeez.
Jurassic World's climbing up.
Ugh.
Based on
Jurassic
rock, paper,
World.
scissors.
Look at that.
Andy, my hero, Andy.
That's right. Number 10 out of 35.
Ah, God, it made the top 10.
Oof.
That is illegitimate.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Right.
Thanks, dinosaurs.
Well, good conversation, gentlemen. Excellent flick chart song, Tommy. And
we still didn't figure out the Christmas mystery.
Oh, we didn't. Why
Oh.
was this set at Christmas? I didn't even know it was set
And
at
how
Christmas.
was it set at Christmas? What?
Why do
The
we know it
only-
was set at
the-
Christmas?
The only hint is at the very beginning when mom and dad are getting the two kids in the car and they're chatting with the son about, it's so sad. Are you going to be okay? Which was very funny. Their Christmas music starts playing in the background. It's "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas" playing in the background. Like it's all
do that.
snowy. It's snowy up
remember
there,
that.
and they're getting ready to send them off on a Christmas weekend trip to Auntie who runs a dinosaur
Because
island.
that happens, right? I mean, even the couples like finalizing divorce, they send their kids away for Christmas. That's going to help them smooth the divorce over with kids. Just ridiculous. We didn't even talk about the story holes because we just kind of left that. But
Yeah,
gosh,
that was a
like, let me
non-trivial one.
drive a Jeep in high speed in reverse through a crowd of screaming people, like without visual. Through, yeah, he doesn't
Hey,
know how
Justin.
cars work. Yeah.
Hey, Justin, 2 words, baby triceratops. For the win! Woo!
Oh dear. Where, as we put this to bed, where do we go next month?
Next month, we are going to be jumping back into the Marvel Cinematic Universe and talking
Yay!
anime.
I feel like it's 1 for me, 10 for you guys. I gotta be honest. You gave me dinosaurs, and I've given you hobbits and marvels all over the place. Ugh.
That I feel really bad about. This is a scheduling thing, though. This is not really. I mean, this is just when it happens to fall together. It's because of summer. What can you say? I'm sorry, Tom.
Fair enough. I'm cool.
Don't leave
I love being here, and I love you guys. So thank you.
Don't ever leave us. Don't ever ship me off to Dino Land for Christmas, please. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. As always, JJ.
Thank you. I liked it. I wasn't scared.
Tommy, thank you.
Always a pleasure.
Andy, good to talk to you, as always, my friend.
Yes, indeed. Until next time.
Until next time, on behalf of everybody and me, Pete Wright, thanks for hanging out with us on the Film Board this month. And don't forget, listen to me and Andy on the regular show every, Friday-ish, Saturday morning sometimes. The weekly show, The Next Reel. We'd love you to subscribe. And then you don't need to really pay attention to when it comes out. And that's good for me. Thanks, everybody. We love you. Good night.
And remember, a train can't undress a boy. Are we still bringing that back every week since Child 44? That should be like our catchphrase.
Oh man.
Oh wait, so stop recording?
Oh, only when you're finished.
I'm done.
Are you sure?
Train can't undress a boy? Yeah, that's my top thing.
That's coming. That's gonna stay in. Stay in. You bet it will.
Well, no, if you just put that in, no one will remember Child 44 and they'll just think I'm a creep.
Oh, well, Tommy.
You know what? I don't care. I'm a creep. I like dinosaurs and trains undressing boys. Let's do this. My name's Justin Yeager. Put that in the podcast, you weirdos. Woo! All right.
Still dancing. Still dancing.